They call me Mademoiselle Fleur. The name is a lie, a cheap and glittering bauble bestowed upon me by Monsieur Bernard, the ringmaster, the day he bought me. Fleur, he'd said, his breath smelling of stale brandy and cloves. A flower, delicate, beautiful, and born from the dirt. He thought he was being poetic. He was merely being accurate. Here, under the great canvas tent of the Cirque du Voyage Magnifique, I am an artist. The sawdust is my soil, the roar of the crowd is my sun. My stage is the broad, dappled gray back of Apollo, my Andalusian stallion. We are one creature, a symphony of muscle and balance. While he gallops in a thundering circle, I move on his back as if it were solid ground. For 3 minutes every night, I am not a possession. I am transcendent. The crowd sees grace and beauty. They do not see the iron core within me, forged in a fire they cannot imagine. They see the costume, not the scars beneath it. Our circus, a rambling caravan of painted wagons, had rolled into this sun-scorched town 3 days ago. Redemption Gulch, it called itself, a laughable name. There is no redemption in these dusty corners of the world, only different kinds of cages. We erected our big top at the edge of town, a gaudy jewel against the endless, cracked brown of the prairie.
And now, Monsieur Bernard boomed, the one, the only, Mademoiselle Fleur. It was my cue. Apollo and I burst into the ring. The world narrowed to the beat of Apollo's hooves. I rose to my feet on his back, my arms extended. My eyes scanned the crowd, a habit of vigilance. My gaze swept past the miners, the children, the wives, and then my eyes locked on the special box seats. There sat a man, thick-set, with a florid face and a neatly trimmed silver beard. He was smiling, a predator's smile of ownership. The air in my lungs turned to ice. My balance, my perfect life-honed balance, faltered. Apollo, sensing my sudden tension, let out a nervous snort. With a will of pure steel, I forced my muscles to obey and ended the routine early. The crowd erupted in applause, none the wiser. But I couldn't hear them. I couldn't see anything but his face. The face was older, but the eyes were the same. Cold, dead, and utterly without remorse. They were the eyes of the man who had called himself the Jackal. The poster I had seen in town flashed in my mind. Welcome to Redemption Gulch, Mayor Jedediah Kane. The Jackal was Mayor Kane. He had buried his past under a mounting of silver. He had sold me and my sister, and now he was watching me perform. My blood ran cold, then hot, a furious tide of pure black hatred. I took my bow, my face a perfect porcelain mask. Monsieur Bernard met me at the entrance, angry. What was that? A slight dizziness, monsieur, I said. It has passed. Remember, Bernard warned, tonight we have the grand finale. The Tsar of Blades needs his lovely assistant. The grand finale. Sergei, our morose, vodka-soaked knife-thrower. For 2 years I had stood against the board, but I wasn't just his target. In the quiet of the empty tent, Sergei had taught me his art, a deadly one. You have the eye for it, Fleur, he'd rasped. And the stillness. The best throwers, they have no heart. My heart, I thought, had just woken up after a 15-year slumber, and it was beating with a single, deafening purpose. Mayor Jedediah Kane would be attending the finale. His sins were finally coming home to roost. The knives in my hand tonight wouldn't just be props. They would be my voice. They would be my memory. They would be my justice. The 15 years since the Jackal destroyed my world had stretched into a lifetime. Back then, I was not Fleur. I was Ilara, and I had a sister, Lily, who was a year younger, with a laugh like wind chimes. The jackal's raid was a blur of smoke, shouting, and terror. They killed my father where he stood. My mother's scream was a sound that has never truly left me. Lily and I were cargo, bound and thrown onto a wagon. It was in a filthy border town that he found his buyer, Monsieur Bernard.
Bernard looked us over like livestock. He pinched Lily's cheeks. He inspected our teeth. The jackal named a price. Bernard countered. They haggled over our lives for the price of 2 good horses. In the end, gold exchanged hands, and we belonged to the circus. The circus was a new kind of hell. Bernard tried to train Lily for the trapeze, but she was terrified. Her spirit began to wilt.
I, on the other hand, was a weed. I was tougher. Bernard put me to work with the horses. The stable became my sanctuary. It was there I first met Apollo, a young, frightened stallion. I saw the same fear and defiance in his eyes that I felt in my own heart. I gentled him. I earned his trust. Bernard, seeing an opportunity, began my training as a rider. The falls and the beatings were part of the process. I learned to build a wall inside myself, a fortress where Ilara could hide while Mademoiselle Fleur performed. Lily faded. The fevers of the road, the poor food, and the despair wore her down. She grew thin, her cough worsening. I would steal food for her, hold her at night while she shivered, telling her stories of our home. She died during a bitter winter in the mountains of Colorado, with a quiet, rattling sigh in her sleep. She was 16. Bernard had her buried in an unmarked pauper's grave. She was just gone. The only thing I had left was a small silver locket our mother had given us. The rage and grief nearly consumed me. It was around that time that I saved Sergei. He saw a kindred spirit. Our training began. "You have hate in your eyes," he told me. "Hate is good. It gives the arm purpose. It makes the hand steady." He taught me everything: the balance, the grip, the flick of the wrist. I practiced for hours. I became as skilled as he was because my hate was fresh and my focus was absolute. I was no longer a victim. I had a weapon.
Now that hate had a name. Jedediah Cain. As I sat in the darkness of my wagon, polishing the smooth, cold steel of my throwing knives, I opened the locket. The tiny painted faces of my parents looked up at me. This wasn't just for me. It was for them. It was for Ilara and the sister she couldn't save. Mademoiselle Fleur was the mask, but it would be Ilara, the ghost of a forgotten ranch, who would throw the knives tonight. A direct assault was suicide. I had to strip away his costume to show the people the monster they called Mayor. I moved through the town, a creature of exotic curiosity. I learned from the stable boy that the mayor hosts a reception after the show for investors. I learned from the laundress that he has a fancy waistcoat with a secret pocket. In it, he keeps a little leather pouch. My good luck charm, he calls it. The token of my first real success. My last visit was to Sergei. I found him in his wagon, oiling his blades. "I need a change in the act tonight," I said. "I am not standing against the board. Tonight, I will be the one throwing." Sergei was silent for a full minute, studying my face. He saw the new cold fire in my eyes. "Against whom?" he finally asked. "You will be at the board," I said. "And for the final throw, I will pin this to the board." I opened my hand, showing him the silver locket. He understood. He knew this was not a performance. It was a reckoning. When the curtain parted, a gasp went through the crowd. Sergei stood by the board.
I walked to the center of the ring, the knives at my belt gleaming. "Ladies and gentlemen," Bernard announced, "the student becomes the master." The crowd buzzed. I pulled the first knife. I threw it, a perfect arc. I followed with another, then another, slicing a playing card, spearing an apple. I was focusing my entire life, all my pain and rage, into the point of each blade. Finally, only one knife remained, the thin, perfectly balanced Chekhov blade. "And now," Bernard boomed, "for her final, most astounding feat." He gestured toward a smaller target board positioned perilously close to Mayor Kane's VIP box. "For this," I let my voice ring out, "I need a special volunteer. Mayor Kane." All eyes swung to him. Trapped, he had to play along, smiling. "What can I do for you, mademoiselle?" he called out. "15 years ago, sir, you started on your path to greatness," I said, my voice carrying. "You have a token from your first success, your good luck charm. I need a target worthy of my final throw. Toss it to me." The smile on his face froze. He was trapped. With a forced laugh, he reached into his waistcoat and pulled out a small, worn leather pouch. He tossed it. I caught it deftly. His eyes were wide now, a cornered look in them. He was beginning to remember. I held up the pouch. "A man's first success," I announced. "Let us pin it to the board." I walked back. From my bodice, I pulled my silver locket. I threw the locket high, drew the final knife, and threw. The blade caught the locket's chain, pinning it to the board. Then I opened the pouch. Inside was a withered, pressed wildflower. The flower my sister, Lily, wore in her hair the day he took us. I held it up. "You called yourself the Jackal," I said. "You killed my father. You took my mother. You left my sister, Lily, to die. This was her flower." In his eyes, recognition finally dawned, followed by pure terror. "Lies! Seize her!" he bellowed. But his reaction was his confession. Chaos erupted. Sergei hurled a lit lantern into the rigging, and the tent caught fire. In the confusion, I ran for the stables. I swung onto Apollo's bareback. Our final performance was an escape. As the first hint of dawn touched the sky, I slowed him to a walk. The rage was spent, leaving a hollow quiet. I let the wind take the withered flower from my palm. I was no longer Ilara or Fleur. I was just a woman under an open sky with a good horse. I had no name, no past I wished to claim, and no future I could yet see. For the first time in 15 years, that felt like enough. I rode west, toward the rising sun.